Hello friend, welcome back to Toyota Maintenance YouTube channel. I have here today behind me 2002 Toyota Corolla and I will be replacing front brake pads. If you wanna see how I do that, stay with me in this video. I will begin with removing this dust cap. Oh yeah, that wasn't really holding much there. And we will be removing these 4 lug nuts. As usually, they are 21mm socket, right? Here we go. Let's see how this wheel is stuck on it. Sometimes it takes some effort to take them off. The same with this one. When that happens, when it's stuck like that, this is what I do. I put one of the lug nuts back partially, take my hammer, and I'm not going to hit the rim, but just the tire. Did you see it? The rust, which was holding it together, finally gave up, and I can finish removing that wheel. You learned another trick what we use as a mechanics, right? Awesome. Let me show you why it was stuck, right? What's the reason? Do you see that rust right there? That orange color? This wheel obviously wasn't removed for a while, right? And here you see that rust, the orange. So that's where it was all stuck together. I will continue with removing this caliper, this floating caliper, and that's held by 2 bolts, and one is down here and one is up here, and it's a 14mm socket. It should be relatively easy to undo. Let's see if it's true. Okay, this one gave up too. I already have a hanger ready, right? Because we never hang those calipers by the weight, because they could damage the rubber brake line. Here is, you can see in detail, one of those bolts which are holding that caliper for that floating function. Alright. And after I remove that, I have both of them. I can wiggle it off. And as I said, I will hang it up here on the strap. Here you can see it nicely hanging, right? And it's not hanging on that rubber brake hose, brake line, because we don't want to damage that. That gives us nice view of the brake pads. If I bring it a little bit closer for you, you can actually see the reason why we are doing this. Right? The inner brake pad, which is this one, you will say that is still 2 to 3mm, but look at the front one, right? The outer one. Here is like 1.5 mm on top, but here is barely millimeter. This outer brake pad is not evenly worn, right? And that's a clear reason for this replacement today. To remove those brake pads should be very easy. Just carefully move them outwards, right? I can help myself with like a larger screwdriver if I have to, because there is a dust in those channels here. So carefully, right, I can pry them out, and hopefully you can see how easy they are coming out, right? So that was the outer. Now let's put the inner out, and you can nicely see it step by step how it's done. You guys who watch my videos, you know I own brake lathe, so for me this front brake job includes resurfacing the rotor. In order to get the rotor off, I have to remove this entire part. And that's held by 2 bolts, one here, and it's a 17mm. These are very tight always. Did you hear that? times I recommend you using appropriate tools to get it off. After loosening those bolts, I can remove them by the hand. This is the top one, right? Alright, you can see it, it's a large one, right? And the bottom. And I'm holding the whole thing so it doesn't fall on the ground and make a crack in the concrete or whatever. So, here is that entire part. You can hopefully see it, right? And I'm still holding the rotor, but everything, it's loose and nicely coming off. Here you can see nicely how that rotor is being resurfaced. If you have any questions how this brake blade works, I made a special 2 videos about that on this channel. And you can see here how important is to resurface those rotors. You can see the high and low spots on this side, it's uneven wear. The other side is way better, right? It's a first cut. So either you resurface those rotors, or some people say just buy new ones. It's totally up to you. I will continue with cleaning these surfaces and removing possible rust, right? And we know there is a rust to which the rotor and even the wheel was sticking. It was the wheel. So this helps a lot. And I know the rotor will be perfectly seated on this hub. Now, to be able to install new brake pads, I need to press this piston back into the caliper. For that, I will be using this blue point spreader. And this is how I will do that. I will place that spreader inside here, change that ratcheting mechanism, and it will slowly, nicely start pressing that piston down back into the caliper, right? Very easy. You hear the ratchet. Always make sure that you look in your brake fluid reservoir. You don't have too much brake fluid, because you might be pushing it all the way out and then you will end up with the brake fluid dripping through the engine bay and all over the floor and so on. So I'm watching the piston carefully, right? When I will feel that it hit the end, which is right now, I will switch the ratchet and it will get smaller and I can remove the tool. Back on the hanger. I'm not going to put that caliper right without this hanger here. And you see, it's perfectly prepared for the new pads. I will continue with preparing this entire part for installation. And we said there was uneven wear on those brake pads, right? So I must recheck those sliding pins. Apparently they are not moving freely. This one it's okay. What's about this one? Oh yeah, this one's giving way more resistance to move than the other one, and that was clearly the cause of that. So, and you immediately can see the grease, it's kind of dried out. I can see it. You have to trust me about that. So, and I expected that, so I need to re-lubricate that sliding pin. For that you are using the special brake caliper synthetic grease, right? So, with a small amount, right, look at that. I will apply it on this pin. Hopefully you can see it. It's not much of it. And I will carefully, through the dust cap, enter it inside. And you will see, I rotate it, go in and out, right? I will connect this dust cap right here. It will click. Now look at it. This is absolutely nicely flying in and out. The same I will do right now with this one.